the #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to another episode of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Beckson. Today, we're going to be talking with Alex Stripe of Stripe Inspections, a company that's probably one of the most thorough and detailed home inspection companies that I've seen here in Costa Rica. So I thought it'd be great to get him on the podcast, talk about his experiences, and also give us a bit of advice on what to look for when looking at homes and kind of inspecting homes, as well as we'll hear from him of where Alex would invest his money here in Costa Rica as well. Remember, guys, if anybody would like to explore working with us, you can do. We work on a variety of different stuff. We help people invest here, from finding land, the right condo, homes, but kind of more in an impartial way. We're more consultants, where you basically hire us to kind of work on your side, making sure that you make the right decisions based on your investment and lifestyle goals. We can also then project manage from start to finish, even a build. We're working on a couple of hotels for clients that have reached out to us, some homes, and we've helped a lot of people invest in 2022 here in Costa Rica. Remember, you can email us info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. But let's get straight into the podcast with Alex. Good afternoon, Alex. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Richard. How are you?
Very, very good. I really appreciate you taking time, at kind of short notice as well, to jump here on this podcast. But I just saw one of your home inspections and I was like, wow, this is probably one of the most, if not the most thorough home inspections I've seen. So I thought it was good to get you on the podcast, kind of explain a little bit about what you do, some advice for the listeners, and just have a friendly chat.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, we appreciate the opportunity and look forward to it.
No, not at all. As I said, you guys do a great job. You do a great job. So, well, I mean, Alex, maybe you can give us an update of what you're seeing in the market. I mean, I think your perspective, of course, is unique from the point of view of, as realtors. Of course, they're always trying to sell real estate, so they're not going to tell you that it's not a good market. But like, from someone that's doing home inspections, which is, people actually buying. I mean, what are you seeing happening in Costa Rica real estate?
Yeah, right now, we focus in the Guanacaste area here, and right now it seems to be just booming out here. They're building a new terminal at the airport, for private jets, and it's just, there's not a lot of inventory from what we're hearing, so everything's moving pretty darn quickly.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we've got people, we work a lot with expats, and so from what we see just a lot of people flooding out of North America, Canada, and the US, and coming down and buying any sort of property, whether it's to live in or use as a rental property. But everything seems to be moving quickly. And, my business partner, Cynthia, they had bought a 1-bedroom condo down here 2 years ago, and I think it's almost tripled in value already.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it seems to not be slowing down either, from what I'm seeing. From my work end, it's not slowing down. And I'm sure potentially the amount of inspections that you're seeing continues to increase. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Well, there you go, guys. Again, things aren't slowing down here in Costa Rica. I mean, up in North America, of course, I think that they are, but I don't think we're seeing that slow down here, just because, again, we just don't have that much inventory. And what I'm seeing a lot of is people buying land and also building at the moment as well.
Yeah, and I think honestly that's probably the best way to go if it were me.
Yep.
But I own an inspection company in Denver, Colorado as well, and you're absolutely right. The market there is just coming to a screeching halt. There's just, between the rising interest rates, and not everyone's kind of on the fence about if there's going to be recession and then inflation. It's just kind of a mess up there.
Definitely. Well, Costa Rica is a nice escape from that, I'm sure. So
absolutely.
I mean, what type of properties are you doing more inspections of, and why do you think this is?
Yeah, that's a good question. We seem to be doing a lot of condo inspections. Honestly, the reason being is I think that, with condos, there's a lot of amenities already built in, and then it's just low maintenance for a buyer. So, for someone that's either buying abroad or coming down here to live, the less maintenance, the better for them, so they know that they're only responsible for their walls in. But you got to be a little careful. You are buying into an HOA, and so some of these HOA fees are really steep, and if the reserves aren't there or they're not professionally maintaining it, you might be walking into a situation where you might get hit with an assessment. So while the condo, low maintenance is appealing, there are some drawbacks to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are two things that you can do there. Is number one, come back and speak to some of the owners, or you can just go on Airbnb and find some owners there and actually chat with them, because some of them are there. And also look at the financials of the HOA as well, because there are laws in Costa Rica that they do have to have a certain percentage in reserve as well. So just to make sure that they do have money in reserve.
Yeah, that's good advice. We always try to let our clients know, like, hey, first thing we would do is check the reserves, check maintenance schedule, make sure that you're not potentially walking into a rough situation. So that's good advice.
Definitely. Well, I mean, let's talk about kind of some of the hidden things that, not everyone knows about, that people should be aware of when buying in Costa Rica. I mean, what are some of those things that you would highlight?
Where do you want to start on this one? There's quite a bit. So prior to jumping on the call with you, I had said, correct me if I'm wrong, but to best of my knowledge, there's no sort of disclosure laws here. No. So a lot of people are not familiar with that sort of game. So what that means is if we did an inspection for a potential buyer today and found a list of problems that can be their health, safety, whatever the case is, that seller nor their agent have to disclose that information to the next buyer like you would in North America. So a lot of things can kind of fly under the radar here, which is why it's important to have a home inspection done, because you might not get an honest answer from the seller or their representative.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't that mean? Well, I mean, how is your relationship with realtors? And the reason I ask this though is because sometimes if you find, like, it kind of must be a love-hate, because they need you to make to basically make the sale, but also is that, like, you could bring up some huge issues for them which would make them not get the sale.
Yeah, and that's, it's really tough, right? I mean, I hate to say, anything bad about realtors, because we do rely on them for referrals quite a bit.
Yep.
However, not all realtors are created equally, right? We have some really great agents that do care about their client's best interest, and they only want to make sure that they're putting their client in a good situation. And then you've got some realtors that, we've been told by the realtor they don't want us communicating with the client after the inspection. We've been told, which is funny, by North American realtors that they don't like North American inspectors because, things just work differently down here. It's like, okay. So yeah, it just depends on the realtor. I mean, we have some good relationships with some, and others seem to only be chasing that paycheck. And, for them to get paid, the deal has to go through. So we understand that, inspections can bring up some issues and make negotiations a little tough. But if you truly do have your client's best interest in mind, as a realtor, you should want to see them, be happy, because that means long-term referrals for you as well, right? So don't be so short-sighted. But
yeah, I mean, let's just talk about the difference between, again, you covered some of it there, but like typically kind of, I suppose, inspections being done here in Costa Rica versus the US. I mean, what are the main differences and what should people be aware of?
From like a construction standpoint, or
I think from just things that, like, because again, a lot of people are coming down here, with the glasses of like, okay, the standards must be the same as the US, where they are not. As you said, there's no disclosure agreements there.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, anyone could become a home inspector note here.
Yeah, and I think the same holds true for the realtors as well, right? I think,
Yep.
You'll see anyone on any of the Facebook chats or groups, hey, I'm looking for a realtor. Hey, I'm a realtor, and I'm also a shuttle driver, and I'm also, so jack of all trades. So, one thing that I will say that we've run into down here is it's really hard to find a qualified whomever you're looking for, whether it's an electrician, a plumber, realtor, home inspector. I just don't know if there's any sort of licensing down here or certification boards, and if there are, how they are enforced by any means. So that is definitely different. You have your board of realtors and North America. So if something goes wrong, you can always say, hey, I'm going to talk to the board about this particular realtor for misconduct. There doesn't seem to be a lot of accountability. So kind of what you had mentioned earlier before we started the chat was just, it seems to be the Wild West down here. So it is tough to find, good, honest, qualified folks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, I hold my Rolodex pretty close to myself as well, because I've got some pretty good people down here. But I mean, electrical stuff, a lot of the time it's going to be qualified electrical engineers, which is probably overkill in North America to bring in like electrical engineers. But, I mean, that's what we have here. I mean, it's that or nothing.
Yeah, otherwise it's a handyman that's playing around with the electrical, and you start getting flickering lights when you hit a switch somewhere. And so it's just, it's not the most safe situation sometimes.
You'd mentioned earlier that if you were to do something here in Costa Rica, you would actually buy land and build something. Why would you do that?
For me, I think it's just a kind of you can see it through the whole project. You can make sure that things are being built properly to your standards, versus if you buy something that's already existing, and, repairs have to be made, you can be getting into some sticky situations as you start to get hidden defects. So for me, I'd rather just be in control from start to finish during the building process, know that it's done to a standard or a level that I'm comfortable with. And then, it's your own, you design it how you want it.
Yeah. And any financial reasoning behind doing that?
I mean, for me, it's probably cheaper to start from the beginning and do it right than do a lot of investigating later on and figure out what all needs to be done. And then, you're dealing with, professional right off the bat. So no, I mean, again, we're managing, I think project managing 15 builds here in Costa Rica where clients just decided, two different things. Number one, they couldn't even find what they were looking for. Or secondly, of just the ability to gain that equity, that 20, 30, 40% equity as soon as it's finished, meaning that the value of it is more than the land and the building, which is very attractive for them. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you're looking for the short term, immediate return on investment, I think building's the way to go, right? You can buy a condo, and I mentioned this earlier, my business partner here bought a condo and she's seen it almost triple value, which is amazing. But that's not going to be your standard across the board when you buy something that's already, existing.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can explain, I mean, you've kind of touched on some stuff about what your business does, but how it's different. Because again, one of the reasons I got you on here was just because what I saw was completely different. And again, I think that difference is that your standards were born out of the US and not based on here in Costa Rica, which is kind of nice that we're bringing these international standards to Costa Rica.
Yeah. So for me, I think that is the real differentiating factor for us is there are companies that call themselves home inspectors down here, and maybe for what it used to be that would be okay, but what they'll come in and do is just take a quick look around, maybe run a couple of the plumbing fixtures and check for leaks, but they don't have the technical knowledge or experience that I personally have gained from the US. So to be a home inspector there, you have to be certified. Well, depending on the state, you have to be certified, licensed, pass exams, do continuing education, and just show your overall knowledge. And so you don't get that here. And then I'd say one thing that really sets us apart is just our report writing down here. We have the top of the line report writing software. It includes photos of the defects. It will throw in illustrations that kind of help explain what it should do or why it's wrong. So it's education on that piece. And it's something that you can keep as a PDF and use as a maintenance guide as well.
Yeah. I mean, what about your specific background, Alex? Just not, I mean, anyone listening to this is probably going to want to know a little bit about you. I mean, it sounds like your company does, is very good. But I mean, what about yourself? What's your background?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've been in this industry for well over a decade now. I started off as an insurance adjuster for Allstate in North America, and I was on their national catastrophe team. So after big storms, we would travel around the country, assess the damage, write repair estimates and things like that. Kind of got tired of traveling. I was only home about 8 days a month with that job. So took a job in Denver as a vice president of a small roofing company there and grew that business, and then built relationships with a lot of realtors through that company. And they would always send us home inspection reports that say, hey, you need a new roof. And I would get out there and be like, you don't really you need this repair. Yep. And so I built a lot of trust that way. And because I had seen it enough, I said, you know what, I'm going to go fill in the gaps that I don't have and open up my own company. And so in 2015, I launched Stripe Signature Home Inspections there in Denver. And then, eventually made my way down here.
How did you get here, Alex? I mean, everyone has a story of how they got here, but why Costa Rica?
Well, the easy answer was an airplane. But we got here. So my partner is a flight attendant, and so we travel quite a bit.
Yep.
We came down here for vacation a few years ago and just really enjoyed it, liked the people, beautiful country, and then started talking about potentially moving abroad and figured this was a great location. It's a easy flight back, time zones line up, so I can run the inspection company down here very easily, remotely. And yeah, we just had an opportunity when COVID struck and said, let's jump on it and see what we can do. So we've been down here 2 years now.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming down and bringing some of that expertise down here. I think, as I said, I mean, it's nice to see that level of professionalism coming down here.
Yeah, well, it wasn't something that I intended on doing when I got down here. We just seen a need from it, and I met my business partner and her husband, and we became really good friends. And she's actually Tika, and so she was born and raised here, moved to Canada, got married, had a kid, and then they all returned back here a couple years ago as well. And she had seen a need and wanted to be a part of the company, so we partnered up and opened it here. And what's important for her is that we present these options, because a lot of the home inspectors that are, or other companies that are home inspectors down here, don't target the locals. So it's important for Cynthia and us to make sure that we make sure that the locals are aware, like, hey, this is a service that's available to you and it should be done.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, what's the cost of a home inspection with you guys? Because again, usually I've heard of home inspections from $500 up to $2,500 sometimes. I mean, where do you guys fall in that spectrum?
Yeah, so our pricing is really based on the type of the home and the size of the home. So for like a small condo, we start at 400. And then for a small single family home, it's 475, but just depending on how big they get, we have had inspections that are, over 5,000 square feet where we're over $1,000 and things like that. So.
Okay. Well, I mean, the next two questions are questions that I love to ask everyone, just to kind of, everyone has a very unique perspective. But I mean, what are the beach towns that you think are going to grow the most over the next 5 to 10 years, Alex?
Yeah, well, with the announcement of the new terminal being built here in Liberia for the private jets, I really do think the Papagayo area is going to just blow up. They're building some of these mega hotels. I think I don't even know what a 7-star hotel is, but I think that's what it's called. So I guess some of these being built. So like Playa Hermosa, Playa Panama, anything in northern Gulf Costa and the Papagayo area, I think is just really going to take off. You're close to the airport. But you get the quiet, beautiful, serene beach areas. And then if you wanted more of a party scene, you can go down to Tamarindo and things like that. But I think this area is really going to take off.
I agree. I mean, and my final question for you, which is a question I love everyone. And sometimes when I'm out with clients, they actually ask me this question because they've heard it from the podcast. But I mean, if you inherited $500,000 and had to invest it in a business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you do with it and why?
It's a good question. Do you think I could convince the NBA or the NFL to bring a franchise down here? That'd be something. No, I mean, honestly, with that, I think it kind of goes back to, buying the land and developing on it. It may not be the most creative answer, but it's the easiest way to generate revenue, right? If you bought some land and either built a duplex or, some standalone casitas on there, and you can rent out those other units, as you see fit, whether it's, just a few times a year during high season, or bring your family and friends so that they have a place to stay, that land and those homes are going to appreciate in value. So to be able to control that is really the best investment, to have passive income.
I agree. Well, Alex, this has been great getting you on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking time out of what I know is a busy day here to chat with us. And I'll put all of your contact details and your company details in the description, so anyone that wants to reach out to Alex can. But really appreciate you taking the time today, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I appreciate it. We look forward to working with you and your clients more.
Awesome. Have a great day, Alex.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, guys. US standard home inspection is coming to Costa Rica, which is great to see. I mean, I know that there are a couple of US and Canadian, North American registered home inspectors down here, but it's just, again, I saw Alex's, we had a client who hired us to help basically purchase a property. They weren't too happy with the realtor, so they contacted us just to see if we could help out and basically manage the closing for them. I saw that home inspection report and I was like, wow, this is the most thorough home inspection I've seen. So I know who I'll be using for home inspections going forward, and really affordable. So if you want to, Stripe inspections, that basically all their contact details are there in the description. I think that this will be one of the last ones for the end of the year here, guys. I'm probably going to give a summary roundup, I think, for the last one, probably release that on the 31st or the 1st, depending on how my headache is on the 1st, but I'll try and get it out, schedule it beforehand anyway. But for everyone that's listened, really appreciate all your help and also support throughout the year as well. We'll continue to get these podcasts out. We just went over 120 here. So I'm sure that in 2023, we'll probably get over the 150 or maybe even close to the 200 mark. But remember, if you want to contact us, you can info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. Have a great holiday season, guys. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.